Combat Insiders here once again. Nick Portello over there, Joshua Furs over here. We just want to talk about a couple things real quick. There's been some updates. The one thing I really want to get to the bottom of, or at least have a discussion about, is the whole love triangle between Tyron Woodley, Kamaru Usman, and Colby Covington, and how weird this whole thing is. And if you're not aware, they went ahead and made the fight for Tyron Woodley and Kamaru Usman. There was a lot of back and forth Twitter between them, and most of us were under the impression it was Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington. There were multiple polls that different websites did, and I think UFC even did one where everybody wanted Woodley and Covington. That was the fight everybody wanted. That was the fight that Woodley wanted. That was the fight Covington wanted. The fans wanted. It seemed like it was just inevitable, right, that it was going to happen. Woodley, they were supposed to fight over the summer. Woodley had to get a surgery or recovery or something, right? And then went to, when they were going to do the, it was supposed to be Colby and Tyron Woodley instead of Till. But then Colby had to get nasal surgery, which a lot of people are talking about and kind of bashing him for it, but if you go back and look and read into the articles, the UFC doctors recommended that he get this surgery. It wasn't so much like he really had a hard time. Apparently it was affecting his breathing and his cardio. It was something to do with his nasal passages and shit, and people were like, oh, it was optional surgery. Maybe he could have put it off, but I'm thinking if it's affecting your cardio and your breathing, I would think that that's kind of a big deal when, you know, you're right. I mean, especially if you're an athlete, you know, I think like your oxygen intake is a big deal. It was approved by the UFC doctors. They recommended it. He got the surgery. They put Darren Till in for the fight. Fast forward, they tried to get the fight going again, and I think, what do you say, like November, and on the January card, the one that got, Dana White says postponed, but it was fucking canceled. He even said in the press, do you remember, like, in the press conference they just did, one of the reporters said something about, oh, well, you guys canceled the UFC 233 card. He's like, we didn't cancel it, we postponed it. Then where the fuck is it? It's not on the calendar. It goes straight from, you got the UFC Brooklyn, you've got there's a fight night card in early February, and then it goes to UFC 234. There is no UFC 233. Like, where is it at? You said it's not.
Anyway,
sidebar. Anyway, here we are. That fight got canceled. Colby was supposed to fight him. Didn't happen. Colby was the interim champion. Depending on who you ask, depending on what day, he still is, or that he's not. You know, so it's just, they're really, I don't know if we've heard an official answer. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And now, the Usman and Tyron Woodley fight has been all but confirmed for the March card, UFC 235, as the co-main event. And that's where we're at. It's a lot, it's kind of long-winded, but that's people who aren't, you know, maybe you're not caught up on that, but that's the short end of the stick. And Colby is very much hated, and a lot of people don't like Colby.
I like him,
but so do I. And it's interesting because even now, the people who don't like him, at least maybe some of these people are like, well, he got screwed big time. He really got screwed. What do you think the problem is, Nick? I mean, well, like, what do you think the problem is? You think it's something?
I think they just don't like him.
Colby?
Yeah, because the nasal surgery, I get it. Could he have done without it? Maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know, you know, all the details. But would you want to go into a title fight, honestly, any less than 100%?
No.
So I don't blame him for getting the surgery. But I mean, it's not like he galloped off to fight in another sport and hold the division up for, you know, 185,000 days without defending.
Yeah.
You know, so I guess it depends who you are. what kind of name you have. But people can hate Colby, but you know why he sells? Because people will rent the pay-per-view to watch him get beat up.
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't know factually, but I've been told. And obviously, if you watch Woodley's interviews, he said, he used to pay Colby to beat him up, and pay this, that, and the other thing, and blah blah blah. But there are more knowledgeable people than me on the inside track that see that fight go in the total opposite way. That Colby just smashes him. But who knows? Do people hate him? Is he more arrogant than Conor McGregor? I don't think so. Does he do anything out of control more than him? I don't think so. Did he break bus? No. There's just a lot of things. If you compare it, on levels, I don't think he did anything. He got surgery.
Yeah.
There's guys who hold up divisions for no reason. And he got a legitimate surgery recommended by the UFC doctors, and he got it done. And I heard he was stripped, and I don't really know. Do I think Usman deserves a title shot down the road? Yeah. If let's say Colby quit, retired, or left, it makes sense. You know what I mean? But I just think Colby got fucked. He got fucked. At the very least, it should have been Usman versus Colby. Something, But I feel like he's done his. He's put in his time and beat enough people to get the shot. And those two want the fight. It's weird.
It is. You know what? It's funny too because obviously the UFC, Dana White and Tyron Woodley don't have the best relationship. So it's interesting because you would think that you would want to put the fight together that sells the best, and there's already a story there. There's no build up necessary. The built-in story. There's no. You don't have to put in any fancy advertising behind it. You don't have to build up this elaborate commercial for it. The story is already there.
Yeah, they fucking hate each other. Former teammates that hate each other.
Yeah.
Done.
And they legit don't like each other. Again, this is what I was talking about before. They are in the entertainment business now, and this is entertainment. It would be entertaining to see what happens between those guys because you have half the world.
You know what? Actually, sidebar that. How entertaining would the lead-up be? Let's not even talk about the fight.
It'd be gold. It would be absolute. The press conferences between those two.
I can't even imagine.
It's gold, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking gold. I just can't even. I don't know. I really don't. I don't understand it. I don't know what they're thinking. And I like Usman too. Usman's got that wrestling base, and him and Colby are somewhat similar. I think Colby's a lot faster. I think Colby's a lot more, maybe even a little more aggressive than Usman is. Usman's a little bit bigger guy, maybe a little stronger. But I
say Usman stand up, Colby ground game.
Yeah, Usman's got the, I think Usman probably has better stand up. But like I said, they both have that wrestling base. They both like that ground and pound. They both are, they love the going for the takedown, ground and pound kind of game. And then you have Woodley, who is he's also a wrestling base, but his game is more stand up. But he can do wrestling if he has to. He can grapple. We just really don't get a chance to see it a whole lot. But he has that wrestling base as well. But I don't know, man. It's weird. I can't explain it. The back and forth, like Woodley didn't want it, and I guess eventually I'd be curious to be a fly on the wall because as recently as a few days ago, Usman and Woodley were going back and forth on Twitter, and Woodley's like, I haven't signed no fucking agreement with you. He's like, I didn't sign any agreement. We're not fighting. I don't know what you're talking. I have not signed an agreement with you. And then it got announced, was it today, yesterday, that they were fighting on the card. I wonder if this is one of those scenarios. You remember, God, and I can't think of the fight, but there was a fight that was announced on a pay-per-view or something, and like the fighters came out and said like, I haven't signed any contract for that fight. You know, I have no idea what they're even talking about.
Wasn't Diaz Poirier kind of like that? Like they announced it, but then right away, as soon as they did the press conference, they're like, you know, fuck the UFC and fuck, I'm not doing this, and it's for a 165 belt.
That was another weird situation. That was just a whole another fucking weird situation. It wasn't, no, but the one I'm thinking of wasn't them. Man, I don't know. It might have been, you know what? It might have been Woodley. And it might have been the second Wonder Boy fight. And maybe if my brain is, maybe it's not working right. But I remember that there was a fight that they announced it like on social media first. And this is UFC. UFC announced it. And then the fighter was like, I don't know what the hell this is. I haven't signed any contract or bout agreement for this fight.
Right.
And the UFC used it as pressure for them to sign the contract. They'll be like, oh, well, we already advertised it. Now you have to fight this person. I wonder if that's what's happening. Because
I don't know. I dislike unfinished business.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how there's like fights that just need to happen?
Yeah.
Like Tony Khabib. It doesn't even matter for a championship. I think we're owed as fans to see that fight. McGregor Diaz 3. We're owed that fight. Colby and Woodley. We're owed that fight. When you have shit happen, you know, and there's this big build up, but then I feel like I want to see McGregor Khabib again. Not because I think McGregor's going to win, but because he did an interview, and you know, maybe if somebody knows, I don't claim to be an expert, but he said from a technical fighting point of view, he felt he won the first 2 rounds. I remember watching the fight live.
You know what's interesting? A lot of you know what's interesting is a lot of fighters say that. I think Woodley was talking about it, or who else was talking about that fight? Ben Askren was talking about it. He was like, you know, and I'm not necessarily saying this, but like I think Ben Askren was talking about how compared to some of these other guys, they were saying like McGregor wasn't doing as bad as I think we all made it out to be.
But he got controlled, and Khabib held control at bare minimum. I just don't see how.
I don't think he won those rounds. No, I don't
think he won any rounds.
I think Khabib did exactly what he wanted to do that whole fight. I don't think there was ever a moment where Khabib was worried or out of control. Or
no.
It went exactly the way that when it happened, there was no surprise. Now, I was surprised at him knocking down McGregor, and I was surprised that McGregor didn't even really get a good shot. I was expecting at least 1 or 2 good shots. Maybe not put him away, but I was expecting something more. But
you know what surprised me? That Khabib hung his chin out there and like, all right, we'll just stand here. He did that, and he did say though, he said, I'm going to punish him for 5 rounds. All right, so he punished him for 4.5, and you know, and then finished him. But let's get back on track to the. There's really no answer to the Woodley Covington. I would love to have them on individually, or at least Colby, because I feel like if you ask him a question, he's just going to tell you what it is. Like, he's going to answer it. He's not going to try to cover this, cover that. I feel like if he was on, he would say, I got fucked.
He did. So, well, he did say that. He was on. He's been on a couple shows yesterday, and that's exactly what he said. And he said, you know, he was on Ariel Helwani, and Ariel was like, you know, do you have any words for UFC? He said, yeah, fuck you, UFC. It was crazy. I mean, he was pissed. He said, you know,
then he dared them to cut him. Did you see that?
Yeah, he said, I dare them to cut me. He said, let him cut me. He's like, I got plenty of places I could go. Let him cut me. You know, I don't know.
Maybe he'll get the winner. You can't push the guy aside for a surgery that was recommended by your doctors.
Well, Woodley says he's fighting Usman in March. He's going to turn around and fight Colby in July. Now, maybe. Now,
I guess he's assuming he's just going to win.
here's the other perspective of this. Here's the business perspective. I think that the March card, it's a killer card. Maybe they don't want Colby and Tyron Woodley on that card because Colby and Woodley, I think, is a big draw. What's their bigger pay? They usually have 2 or 3 big pay-per-views every year. When does one of them happen? Every year.
In the summertime.
In July. Usually the July card is one of their bigger cards for the whole year. I'm thinking they're waiting. Maybe this was a business strategy. Maybe they're like, hey, let's go and do Usman first because I think that's the least out of the 2 fights, out of Colby and Usman, that's the least interesting. Not to say it's not interesting at all. I still want to see the fight.
There's no drama behind it. There's no story.
Yes, right. So maybe they put that one second. Put that one first. Then maybe they wait till July. Maybe they do because it's the bigger card.
What if Woodley loses? I'm just saying. Then what do? You have Woodley and Colby fight anyway? Or I don't...
No, because there's still drama between Usman and Colby. Let them 2 fight.
Well, he did tell him... What did he tell him at the press conference? You're not on the big stage or some kind of shit. I remember seeing it.
I don't know, man. It's interesting. And I don't want to go on too much about it. But, guys, tell us what you think. Leave a comment. Leave a message. We might bring it up in a future episode. Please share this. Please like it. Check out our buddies over at jabapparel.com. Like I said, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Really helps us out a lot. That's all we got for this little installment. For Nick, for Josh, peace.